a grammatical error a lot of people make, particularly in advanced writings. Um, so, if time permits, we're going to look at dangling modifier also in a bit more detailed fashion. Okay, so we don't have a separate module on dangling modifiers, but I'm choosing to take this up. We have definitely talked about it as a part of participles and clauses, but we don't have a separate module. But I'm taking it up because I feel, particularly when it comes to advanced writing, dangling modifier is a kind of grammatical mistake that a lot of people commit. Okay, particularly when you're combining multiple sentences, that is in the use of complex or compound sentences. Okay. Okay. Now let me quickly share my slide. But we'll wait for a couple of minutes to see if there are more people joining us. Okay. If you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask your questions. I say this because when I'm sharing the entire screen, right, um, I don't get to see the chats. Okay, so in which case it'll be easy for us to, um, by us I mean you, um, to quickly unmute yourself and clarify your doubts. Okay, just a couple of minutes and then we'll begin. Okay, so what is a participle? A participle is a verb um, that functions as an adjective. So, can that be a verb in the sense of, let's say, cry? No, it's a form of verb. Okay, so before I get into it, I want you to quickly understand the distinction between regular verb and irregular verb. Can someone unmute and explain me the difference? Anyone knows what the difference between a regular verb and an irregular verb is?
Regular verb carries tense, whereas irregular not.
Um, Please, can you go again? I did not hear you.
Regular verb carries tense for the sentence, whereas irregular verb does not carry the tense.
Um, e- uh, yes, you're right in a way. Um, but what is more prominent is that regular verb follow a predictable pattern. For example, if you see, let's take the verb walk. The past tense is walked and past participle is walked. Play, same, played, played. Clean, cleaned, cleaned. Right? Um, so the rule for regular verb is you have the base verb plus ed for past and past participle. But for irregular verbs, they do not follow fixed rule, right? For example, go, went, gone. The ed doesn't work there, right? Or eat, ate, eaten. Take, took, taken, right? So no single rule. Um, so this is the key difference between um, a regular verb and irregular verb, right? So uh, for example, here now look at this. The crying baby was finally put to sleep, right? Um, Here, the crying baby is a participle. And why do I say that? Because um, crying baby here functions as adjective. Though you may look at cry as an action word, right? And in the process, think that, cry could be verb, right? And baby is a noun. Um, Independently it could be true, right? Just the words. But here if you look in the entire sentence, it functions as an adjective. So is any sentence that let's say starts with a broken glass. The broken glass was hard to fix, right? So in which case again, um, it's a verb form, but um, it functions as an adjective. Now, as we proceed with the slides, we'll see how this is different from a verb, or you may also look at it as, can this be uh, a noun, right? These are the kind of things that get confused with a participle. So we'll see how this is different and what are the different kinds of participle. Okay. But here the most important thing, particularly from an application point of view, from a writing point of view, is that of a dangling modifier. This is why participle in the first place became a part of the curriculum, because with dangling modifier, for you to understand participle properly, I mean dangling modifier properly, you need to understand participle, and with that you will be able to correct some of the grammatical mistakes that we make. These are advanced grammatical mistakes, not the basic mistakes. So you have the present participle. So present participle is where you have the verb plus ing form used for ongoing um, or an active meaning. For example, let's say um, the running boy um, fell on his knees, right? Um, the singing bird was blue in color. So here, what you see is how do you identify a present participle is you see verb plus ing form, and it's used for something that is of value in the present. Okay. Uh, Past participle usually used with ed, or with irregular verbs, right? Used for completed or passive meaning. For example, broken chair, right? So here with broken, we have so it is break, broke, broken, right? So in which case it has come out as irregular. And when I say broken chair, it's also something that has happened in the past, right? Or the written exam. The written exam was quite hard. So again, write, wrote, written. So it's in the irregular form, again used for a completed or passive meaning. Perfect participle is, how do you identify that? You have the form is you have to have the word having and then the past participle. For example, um, having finished work. Having finished work, I went for a stroll. So, you know, the moment you see this sentence, you know that because it has having in front of the verb form, which is in the past, right? Which is finished. This is a perfect participle. And what does it show? It shows earlier completed action. Having finished work, I went for a stroll, or having finished work, she left. So these show that the action has been completed. Okay. Uh, so now participle phrases, you have the participle. Here it is in the first sentence. What is a participle? Running across the road, he slipped.
Running across the road.
Running across the road.
Yeah. So that's a participle phrase. Here you could say the participle is running. Okay. And exhausted after work, she slept. What's the participle here?
Exhausted.
Yeah. So though this is a verb, grammatically it functions as what?
Adjective.
Adjective. Okay. So it is also possible that what is participle phrases? You have this participle plus additional words. For example, running is a participle and you have additional words like across the road, or exhausted, and then additional words like after work, right? So these are participle phrases. Now comes a dangling participle. Now, um, if you start a sentence with a participle, right? Running across the road, the car hit him. What is wrong about this? Can anyone look at this and just read it a couple of times and see if something stands odd? Or when I say this is incorrect, what do you think is incorrect about it, or why do you think it is incorrect?
It is incorrect because of the incorrect use of tense, I guess.
Mm,
And I think
uh,
the phrases are jumbled.
it's jumbled. So how do you put it?
Like maybe the car hit him when he was running across the road or something like that.
Okay, no, but if I want to start the sentence with the participle, running across the road, I want to keep this intact. Running across the road. Okay, I'll tell you. So you look at the first part of the phrase, running across the road, right? What was running across the road?
The person.
Yeah. So that needs to be made clear. So when you write running across the road, the car hit him, particularly when it starts with a dangling participle, the rule is that the subject has to be placed in the front, or the subject should not be skipped. Now, running across the road, where is the subject? There is no subject there. The car hit him. The right way of putting it is running across the road. Who was running? Him was not running, he was running. So, running across the road, he was hit by a car or whatever. He was hit. Right now, we'll look more into that. But before that, identify the type of participle. Crying child,
Present participle.
yeah.
Present participle.
Um, yeah. Broken window,
Past
Past participle.
participle.
yeah. Having finished,
Perfect
Perfect
participle.
participle.
perfect participle. What will be the participle for?
The
The
running dog.
running dog.
Hmm.
In chair.
The broken.
Broken chair,
Having finished.
Finished.
having. Now, start with the participle and then rewrite this. She finished work and left.
Having finished her work, she left.
Ah, yes. Second one,
Injured man.
Injured man.
yeah. Third one,
Playing boy.
Playing
yeah.
boy.
Now, let's look at the first sentence. Having been repeatedly warned, the researcher adjusted the methodology. What is the subject in the sentence?
The researcher checked methodology.
Subject is just one. The
The
researcher.
researcher.
Yes. And what kind of participle sentence is this?
Perfect participle.
Of participle.
Perfect. Yeah. The data collected from rural areas revealed unexpected patterns. What is the subject?
The data.
Yes.
Data.
Yeah. And participle?
Past
Past
participle.
participle.
Yes. Walking through the archive, the historian discovered rare manuscripts. What is the subject?
Historian.
Historian. And what's the participle type?
Present. Continuous.
Present.
Present. Exhausted by the prolonged debate, the committee postponed the decision. What's the subject?
Committee.
Decision.
Committee. See, how do you find the subject? You have to ask um, what is this sentence about, and who is the doer of the action. These are generally the ways of finding subject. For example, see, you know how when people give simple sentences like Ram killed Ravan, right? In that they say, how do you find the subject? Who is the doer of the action? So action is killed, and who did it? Doer is the one who did. So it is Ram. So they say Ram is the subject, right? Um, so doer of the action, when in doubt, you try to ask. But that doesn't mean that um, that's the standard definition or that's the only way of finding a subject. Subject is much more than doer. Okay. But the main thing that you can keep in mind is the one that agrees with the verb, right? That is the subject. Um, See, that's an entire topic on its own. But two common things that you can use to find this out is one, doer of the action, and other, ask um, what is this whole thing about and what is important in the sentence, right? And whatever answer you get, with that you see and question who has performed. Is there a who that the question answers or the sentence uh, answers, right? So that will be the subject. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Fifth one, yeah. Being one of the earliest studies, the paper remains widely cited.
The paper is the subject.
Paper.
Yes. Paper is a subject. And what kind of participle type is this?
Present.
Present. Why?
Being one of the earliest.
Being. That ing form you see there, right? Being. That's the
Yes.
reason why this is present. Okay. So, to sum it up all, participles act as adjectives. Okay. So, next time, even in clauses, don't get confused. Now that you know participles, you will know, seeing this you will know, okay, this is adjectival clause and not adverbial. Okay. And there are three types. There's present, past, and perfect. And very important, avoid dangling participles. We'll get into the details of dangling modifiers. So in that, participle is one aspect, but there are many dangling modifiers. We'll look into that. Okay. Let me. Can you see my slide?
Yes, ma'am.
So, dangling modifier occurs when a modifier does not logically connect to the subject. So, I don't want to use all this, you know, terms like modifier and all that. I'll give examples and show you. Okay, but just to keep in mind, when it comes to a sentence, when there is a doer of an action, right, it must always be the subject. You ask what the subject is for the kind of sentences where there is no doer of action, or something doesn't come out very visibly on the surface level, right? But when you know that there is a doer of an action of the action in that sentence and it is visible, then there is no question of what is the subject there. The doer of the action is the subject in that. Okay. So why it matters? Why should we have discussion on dangling modifiers is most of the times, like I said, it distorts meaning. In the previous example, instead of he, the second clause had the car. So the question is, was the car crossing the road? It seems like that when you put the car hit him, right? Instead of he was hit by the car. According to the sentence structure, if you don't change it to he, it will look like because it starts with a participle. um, it's definitely going to feel like it's not feel it comes out as the car is the one that was crossing the road. Okay, so this specifically happens when it comes to writing, and this kind of writing generally happens where complex sentences are put together, or there is compound complex sentences, right? When trying to put sentences together in order to minimize the number of words, we tend to use modifiers, um, right? And what happens is you misplace the subject, in which case this dangling modifier problem arises. So, like I said, it distorts meaning and creates unintended interpretations. A classic example will be walking through the corridor, the paintings looked impressive. So the question is, are the paintings walking?
No, ma'am.
This happens when you try to compress the sentence, and in the process, you eliminate the subject, right? And um, suddenly, even without the subject, or putting it elsewhere, it sounds all right. And this is a reason why even people with some um, basic fluency of English tend to make this kind of mistake. So the right way would be walking through the corridor, I found the paintings impressive. There are different types of dangling modifiers. um, just a minute, guys, I'm sorry, it's an important. Hello. சொல்லுங்க. ஓகே. I'm sorry about that. um, Okay, so there are different types of dangling modifiers. Um, One is the participle danglers, which we have already discussed. So something like having completed the assignment, the deadline was extended. So the question is, who completed the assignment? Right? Having completed the assignment, the deadline was extended doesn't make sense. So maybe having completed the assignment, um, the students requested an extension or uh, an extension of the deadline. Just a second, one more. Yeah. Mm. So, so this is something that we discussed, right? So when you have the participle, right, and the sentence starts with the participle, you have to make sure that it is in alignment with. First of all, make sure that there is a subject shows up, right? And then it aligns with the rest of the, or the initial clause or the participle clause, right? Next is because we don't have a separate module on this, we're not going to look at the terms, but we'll just look at the kind of errors that people make around modifiers. I mean, dangling modifiers. While reading the article, the argument seemed flawed. Um, how could this be rephrased? The question is, you have to ask who is reading the article. So it could be, while reading the article, he found the argument flawed, or I found the argument flawed. It could be anything, right? But make sure that with the first phrase that you have while reading the article, you got to keep your agent or the subject intact, and then follow it with the rest of the clause. Written in haste. Why is this passive? Because it starts with a passive. Written in haste, the argument lacks clarity. Who wrote in haste? Right? So, written in haste by the author, the argument lacks clarity. Written in haste, can you use some other words and try to complete the sentence? Written in haste, he found his argument lacking clarity. That's also a possibility. Okay. To improve the results, the experiment was repeated. Question is, who wants to improve the result? So, to improve the results, the researcher repeated the experiment. But when you look at it, like the why I said this is advanced grammar is, when you look at this sentence, you may feel like there's nothing wrong. To improve the results, the experiment was repeated, right? But the thing is, a lot of us actually miss the subject, miss the doer of the action, um, miss the who part of it, and put together sentences. So how do you recognize that? You have to ask the question, who performs the action? Is that there? Is that the subject? If it is not the subject of that sentence, then it is a dangling modifier, which means it is a grammatically wrong sentence. So basically, without overcomplicating, you just need to ask, when you see sentences of this kind, right? Is there a subject um, that is explicit in the given sentence, right? So no, professor is not here. It's stepped out.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, so based on, okay, there is something called ambiguity and dangling. Dangling is when you miss the subject, right? Um, so let's look at this. Based on the findings, the theory was revised. This is acceptable because here the agent is implicit, because you are saying based on the findings. So here the core that you need to keep in mind is findings. And in the next phrase, it's the theory was revised, right? So in this case, the agent doesn't have to be explicit. Like who revised the theory is not important here, because the focus of this is the findings and the theory, more importantly the theory. So therefore this is acceptable, but again this leaves space for some ambiguity. You could feel who revised the theory. So therefore it is better to not leave space for ambiguity and write it could be the researcher or the scientist revise the theory based on the findings, right? So you leave no space for ambiguity. So what are the correction strategies involved? You need to add the correct subject, convert to full clause. So so basically when you don't have the subject, it means your clause is only partial. You don't have the full clause, right? So with the subject added, when you add the subject, you may have to modify a few other words, right? Convert to full clause, use prepositional phrases if required. For example, there was one sentence. I don't remember. I think it was in the previous slide. And finally, reorder the sentence. Use of prepositional phrase was he was hit, right? And then you could use by the car, so that it's a complete sentence, right? What was having crossed the road? Yes, having crossed the road, he was hit. That's how we converted it to a full clause. And we add the prepositional phrase by the car or by a speeding car, right? So that there is complete meaning to it. This is what's the error here, or can you rewrite the sentence?
Having completed the survey, the students emerged several insights.
The students, no, students won't emerge. Insights emerged, but then you need to have the subject of, um, that means here now what you need to do is when you use the word emerge, right? Um, you are unable to fit in a subject here, right? So you need to give up on the word emerged, and you
Mm.
could use having completed the survey, the students
Inferred,
found, huh?
having completed the survey, student inferred several insights.
Huh. Yes.
Thank you.
Right. Next one is walking into the hall. The noise was overwhelming. What could be a better, not better, this is grammatically wrong. So, what's the right way of putting this sentence together?
Walking into the lecture hall, the students' noise was overwhelming.
Um, for whom?
Ma'am, uh, the subject clause would be I found the noise was overwhelming.
Uh, it is I or we or he. When you say students' noise, right? It doesn't change anything. You're just adding another
Yes,
word
ma'am.
in front of the noise, but subject is not added. The
Yes, ma'am.
question is, who found it overwhelming?
I. All right.
Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Walking into the lecture hall, he found the noise overwhelming, or he found the students' noise overwhelming. That could be anything. Let me see if I have. Try working on this sentence. How will you correct the sentence? Having reviewed the literature, gaps were identified. Why is there such a long silence?
Having reviewed the literature, the
Having
professor
reviewed the literature,
professor identified the gaps.
yes. The professor identified the gaps. I identified the gaps. They identified the gaps. It could be anything based on the context. Okay.
Um, we have just we have to just answer who reviewed the literature. That's it.
Yes. So the important part here is, um, just a second. What is a modifier? Can anyone answer?
Ma'am, that add some details to other word, phrase, or
Yes. So in any modifier, that is right. Um, so modifier could be adjectival or adverbial, whatever that is. You have to match the modifier with the subject. It cannot just hang in there as a separate. That is why it is called dangling modifier. That grammatical error itself is called dangling modifier because it doesn't fit in with the structure of the rest of the sentence. The second thing is avoid hidden subjects. Agents is a better word because in which case the we are when I say agent, it means the definition is doer of the action. That's called an agent. So avoid hidden agents. You tell whether it is who did that. Is it I or professor or he or she or they or we, right? And why I ask why dangling modifier needs to be avoided is because lot of people, particularly in academic writing, when you write a paper, when you write a term paper, we all have the pressure to make things very concise, but you want to put together a lot of things. Academic writing also doesn't allow small sentences. They need longer sentences. They prefer longer sentences, right? So when you club sentences and you club ideas together, what happens is there is an overwhelming urge for the writer to make it precise, putting everything together. So, a precise, a concise, long sentence is an academic writer's, um, weapon, I would say. But in the process of making the sentence concise or precise, what happens is sometimes you lose out on clarity. And dangling modifier is a perfect example of that. Right? Who did it? Sometimes doesn't get answered there. Therefore, it is important to prioritize clarity over conciseness. Okay, so any doubts on this? That is it for today. Any doubts?
Ma'am, are there
Hmm.
different?
Are there?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Are there difference between uh, participles and perfect form tense? Participle
Per-
used as adjective, and when we use in tense form, then they known as perfect form tense. So, is there
perfect sentence law. What did you say? Difference between participles and
yes, ma'am. Participle and the situation where we use participle in tense. We use present perfect form, yeah, present perfect tense or past perfect tense. So here,
oh,
participle, the third form of verb, used as a tense thing or thing which denoting tense.
okay. So you are asking if there is a difference between, if I am right, whether there is a difference between participles and tenses, right?
Yes, ma'am. Participle
So,
like
like I
we
said, participle is definitely a verb form that acts as um, adjective, right? So there is definitely participle definitely carries a tense on that, and based on that we have different kinds of participles, right? So if you ask me, does it carry does it carry tense? Of course it carries tense.
okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. This is the thing I want to know that when then we use participle or third form of verb. So that means there is no any tense, so they are not related to tense. So participle do have tense meaning also. Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So before I say goodbye, let me ask you, what do you want for next week as uh, the topic for your session?
Ma'am, conditionals and quantifiers.
Conditionals and quantifiers. Okay. Any other topics? Anybody else?
Morphemes.
Morphemes. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Morphemes, conditionals. Okay. Conditionals, quantifiers. Okay. Morphemes. Anything else? Last time, I think it was Varshini who requested participles, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I see there is a set of a group of you coming regularly, so I would like to cater to your needs, right? So if you have any specific topic that is still not clear, right, and it doesn't have to be entirely taken from that particular week. If there's anything related to English 1 or 2, right, where you feel, look, I have not really understood this concept, I would want some clarification on this, please feel free to um, give me that topic and we will do it together, right? Work on it together. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So we're going to use this platform not just to see what kind of questions will come for the exams, but to, I would say, rather to understand how grammar works, and if there are any grammatical inconsistencies in your writing, right? And see if that's recurring, right? For example, a lot of people have problems with tense, right? And you see, tense is where you commit the most number of mistakes. Then you can come tell me that, look, this is a portion where, I'm not very confident. So we will brush through the basics and then go to the advanced level to see how we can rectify and or modify your writing. Okay. Okay, I think you said no more doubts, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we end the session here?
Yes, ma'am, we should.
Okay. Okay, then. All of you have a great evening.
Thank you.
Take care. I'll meet you with a different topic on next Tuesday, right? Yeah, I'll meet you next Tuesday with a different topic. Until then, stay safe. Take care, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.